Welcome to the Sleep Paralysis tapes. Settle into the dark, pull the covers close, and let the heavy silence fill your room. Tonight, we descend into chilling tales of the unexplained. Before the screen fades to pitch black, I invite you to become part of this archive. If you have your own terrifying encounters, please contact me and I will narrate your story in a future tape. If these shadows bring you comfort, please like, subscribe, and tap the bell. Now, close your eyes. Do not look at the foot of your bed. Just listen and let us begin. Mark had been driving for FedEx in Lodi, Ohio for 10 years. That's important. You need to understand the rhythm. It's not just a job, it's a pattern worn deep into the landscape of a person. The same roads, the same turns, the same pothole on the backside of the Lodi Industrial Park that he'd hit every Tuesday for a decade. He knew Medina County better than his own living room. He could tell you which dogs were friendly, which porch steps creaked, which businesses got their deliveries on which days. His life was a series of solved puzzles stacked neatly in the back of his truck. And the key to it all was the power pad. That's the handheld scanner and GPS they gave him. It was his map, his manifest, his brain. Every morning he'd scan his packages and the system would spit out his route. The perfect, most efficient order of stops. It was never wrong. He trusted it completely. So on that Tuesday, October 3rd, when the power pad beeped and added a new stop to his list, he didn't think twice. It happened sometimes. A late add-on. He just glanced at the screen. The stop was for 218 Cypress Lane. Signature required. But there was a pre-signature on file. That meant he just needed to scan the package, leave it, and go. Routine. Mundane. He finished his stop on Maple Street and got back in the truck. He tapped the screen. The GPS began its navigation to Cypress Lane. Now, Mark knew every street in Lodi. He'd delivered to all of them. Cypress Lane didn't ring a bell. He figured it must be a new development, maybe out past the old grain elevators. The GPS took him south, away from the town center. That made sense for new construction. But then it took him onto County Road 27. That was mostly farmland. Then it told him to turn onto a dirt surface road behind a long-abandoned feed store. His truck bounced on the ruts. Weeds scraped the undercarriage. This did not feel like a new development. The GPS announced, "You have arrived." Mark stopped the truck. He looked out his window. There was nothing. No street sign, no houses. Just a field of tall, brown autumn grass, bordered by a line of scrub trees. The address, 218 Cypress Lane, should have been right where his grill was pointing. He checked the power pad. The stop was still there, bright and official. It listed a recipient named J. Smith. It had that pre-signature authorization. The package in his truck was real, too. A small, lightweight box. The label said 218, Cypress Lane, Lodi, Ohio. Everything matched. Everything was correct except for the fact that the street did not exist. A reasonable person would have called dispatch. Mark was a reasonable person. He got on the radio. His dispatcher, Linda, sounded bored. "Run the address, Mark. I'm telling you, Linda, I'm at the address. There's no street here." "It's a field," he heard her typing. A long pause. "System shows Cypress Lane." "It's on your manifest. You gotta deliver it, Mark." "To what? The crickets?" "Maybe it's a glitch," she said. Her voice was already moving on to the next driver's question. "Just bring it back. We'll return it to sender." He scanned the package as an exception, loaded it back into the truck, and finished his route. The whole thing was an irritation. A 15-minute waste of time. A technological hiccup. He didn't think about it again until he was back at the station sorting his undeliverables. He handed the Cypress Lane box to Linda. She took it, frowning at her screen. "That's weird," she muttered. "What?" "It's gone." "What's gone?" "The stop. It's not on the manifest anymore. It's like it was never there. She looked at the box in her hands, then at him. You sure you didn't just misread it? Mark didn't argue. He'd been doing this 10 years. He knew what he saw, but the evidence was gone from the system. All that remained was the physical package with its impossible address. They returned it to sender. End of story. That's what he told himself. A glitch. A one-time thing. I wish I could tell you that's all it was. For the next week, everything was normal. The rhythm returned. The power pad was trustworthy again. Mark told himself he just caught a weird system bug, a cosmic hiccup. It was over. Then, on a Thursday, it happened again. He was halfway through his route. The power pad beeped. A new stop flashed onto the screen. 47 Willow Road. Signature required. Pre-signature on file. He knew Willow Road. It was a quiet street of older homes near the library. He delivered there dozens of times, but when he arrived at the house number the GPS gave him, there was nothing. It was a stretch of empty sidewalk between two perfectly normal houses. No 47. He checked the map on the device. The little pin was dropped right on the pavement. He drove up and down the block. Nothing. He called Linda again. Her frustration was clearer this time. She said, "The manifest shows it, Mark. I see it right here." But Willow Road doesn't have a 47. The street ends at 45. Mark said, "So delete it." "I'm trying," she replied. It's not letting me. The system says it's a valid scheduled delivery. It won't release." There was a new tone in her voice. Not boredom, but a low confusion. "Just mark it exception and bring it back." He did. But this time, when he returned to the station, the stop wasn't gone from the system. It was still there, grayed out, marked undeliverable. It was a ghost in the machine. Linda looked at it on her terminal for a long minute. She didn't say anything. She just shook her head and closed the window. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. The following Tuesday was 512 Oak Boulevard. Lodi has no Oak Boulevard. Wednesday, it was 909 River Street. There is no River Street in Medina County. Each time, the stop appeared with full details. A recipient name. A package on his truck matching the label. A pre-signature authorization. Each time, the GPS led him to a real location. A field, a ditch, a vacant slice of land behind a warehouse. A place that did not and could not correspond to the address. And each time, Linda could see it. She could not delete it. The system accepted these addresses as valid. It routed them. It demanded their completion. Mark's irritation turned into a quiet, simmering dread. This wasn't a glitch. Glitches are random. This was persistent. It was hunting him. Every day, he'd start his route with a knot in his stomach. He waited for the beep. He waited for the phantom to join the list. He stopped talking to Linda about it. Her helplessness was worse than her boredom. He just scanned the packages as exceptions. He piled them in the undeliverable bin and drove on. The other drivers noticed. They'd see the odd boxes in his returns. They'd ask. He gave them shrugs. System errors. They accepted that. Until one of them didn't. It was Carl, a veteran driver with 20 years on the job. He was old enough to have used paper manifests. He watched Mark load another fake address package into the returns bin one afternoon. He didn't say anything then. But later, in the parking lot, as Mark was locking his truck, Carl approached. He lit a cigarette. He didn't look at Mark. He looked at the gravel. Carl said, "The Willow Road one, that was yours?" Mark nodded. Carl took a long drag. "I had one. About a year back. For a minute, I thought I was going crazy." Mark felt his breath catch. What was it? Maple Drive, number 33. Carl finally looked at him. "There is no Maple Drive here. The GPS took me out to the county line, just a dirt pull-off by some trees. Had a package for it. Real label. Everything. He exhaled smoke. Dispatch said it was a database error. They cleared it. Never happened again. Just once? Mark asked. His voice was too hopeful. Carl nodded. Just once. He paused. Then he added the words that sank into Mark's stomach like a stone. You're getting more than one, though, aren't you? Mark didn't answer. He just looked at the ground. Carl understood. He finished his cigarette. Don't tell the others. They'll think you're cracked. He dropped the butt and crushed it with his boot. But you're not cracked, I know that. He walked away, leaving Mark alone in the cooling autumn air. That conversation changed everything. Before, it was a personal nightmare. Now, it was corroborated. It had happened to someone else. A single, isolated event, a system burp that healed itself. But Mark's system wasn't healing. It was getting sicker. The phantoms were coming every other day now. Different names. Different non-existent streets. The same empty coordinates. And this is where the fear solidifies. It's not the unknown that gets you. It's the pattern. The pattern that says this is not stopping. This is growing. And you are alone inside it. Mark started taking pictures. He'd arrive at the GPS pin. He'd take a photo of the empty field or the vacant lot with his phone. He'd photograph the package label. He was building evidence of something that had no explanation. He thought it might help. It didn't. It just proved it was real. He began to hate the sound of the power pad beep. That soft digital chirp had been the sound of order for 10 years. Now it was the sound of the phantom waking up. And it was always waiting for him. The phantom stops kept coming. Every other day, Mark's routine had become a minefield. He'd flinch at the power pad's beep. His heart would do a cold, hard stutter before he looked. He built a little pile of impossible packages in the corner of his truck. A silent, accusatory audience to his day. A reasonable person would have stopped. They would have refused to drive to the coordinates. But Mark wasn't feeling reasonable anymore. He was feeling hunted. And when you're being hunted, sometimes the only thing you can think to do is turn and face the thing behind you. So on a Wednesday, when the pad beeped and displayed an address, he didn't just sigh and mark it for return. He knew this industrial park. He delivered there every day. But the unit it listed, Unit G, didn't exist. The buildings were only labeled A through F. He'd memorized them. This time, he decided to follow the map, not the address, the little blue dot on the GPS grid. He would go to the exact latitude and longitude the system was pointing to. He wanted to see the face of the phantom. The power pad navigated him into the industrial park, past the active warehouses. Then it told him to turn right, down a narrow, crumbling access road. Weeds grew through the cracked asphalt. The sounds of forklifts and radios faded away. The electronic voice announced, "Your destination is on the right." Mark stopped the truck. He was looking at a vacant lot, squeezed between the back of a building and a chain-link fence bordering some woods. The lot was maybe half an acre. It was choked with head-high brown grass and thistles. A rusted chain-link fence, sagging and torn, surrounded it. A padlock hung from the gate, orange with rust. The air here was different. Still, the constant industrial hum of the park seemed muted. No birds, no insects, just a heavy, waiting silence. He got out of the truck. The sound of his door closing was too loud. It echoed off the back wall of the warehouse. He walked to the fence, his shoes crunching on gravel. He peered through the links. Just weeds. Old concrete rubble poking through like gray bones. A single, stunted tree, long dead. This was the place. The GPS pin was right in the center of that lot. This was where the system believed the address existed. He should have left. He knows that now, but he didn't. The compulsion was too strong. He had to prove it was just a field. Just a glitch. Just nothing. He found a section of fence where the lynx had pulled away from a post. With a grunt, he widened the gap enough to squeeze through. The metal groaned in protest. Inside the fence, the silence was absolute. The tall grass swallowed the world. He could no longer see his truck, or the warehouse, or the road. He was in a brown, rustling sea. The air felt cooler. It smelled of damp earth and decay. He walked toward the center of the lot, batting the dry stalks aside. His heart was a dull drum in his ears. This was stupid. This was profoundly stupid. He was about to turn back when his foot caught on something hidden in the grass. Not a rock, something that gave a little. He stumbled and looked down. There, nestled in a matted-down nest of weeds, was something that didn't belong. It was a flash of faded purple and orange. FedEx colors. His breath left him in a slow, quiet sigh. He didn't want to kneel down. But he did. It was a FedEx padded pack, the kind with the bubble wrap inside a plastic envelope. But it was wrong. The plastic was clouded, brittle, and cracked like old paint. The colors were sun-bleached, washed out to a pale lilac and a dusty peach. It was filthy, streaked with dirt. It had been here a long, long time. He reached out. His fingers brushed the surface. It was unnervingly dry. It crackled under his touch. He picked it up. It was light. Empty. He turned it over. The label was still attached, but it was in terrible shape. The paper was stained and warped, the ink faded. But parts of it were still legible. He could make out the barcode, the tracking number, and the addresses. He wiped grime from the TO field with his thumb. The name was M. Henshaw. The address was his address, his home address. A cold numbness spread from his chest out to his fingers. He looked at the from field. The name was smudged into illegibility. But the address, he squinted. He held the brittle label up to the weak autumn light. The return address was also his home address. He was sending a package to himself. Then his eyes, dry and burning, dropped to the bottom of the label. To the date. The printed, automated date every FedEx package carries. The air left his lungs for good. The date on the label was not last week or last year. It was October 3rd, 5 years in the future. He didn't move. He just knelt there in the tall, dead grass, in that silent lot. He held a package from a day that hadn't happened yet. A package he had mailed to himself, and in that moment, the glitch wasn't a glitch anymore. It was a message. And he was finally standing at the address where it had been left for him to find. He didn't run. That's important. The instinct was there. To throw the thing, to scramble back through the fence, to never look back. But his body wouldn't obey. He just knelt there, the brittle plastic crackling softly in his grip, as if the package itself was whispering. The future date on the label was an anchor, pulling his mind down into cold, dark water. October 3rd, 5 years from now. A Tuesday, probably. Just another Tuesday. He forced himself to stand. His knees popped. The sound was obscenely normal. He walked back to the fence and squeezed through, the torn metal scraping his jacket. He didn't look back at the lot. He got into his truck and closed the door. The familiar cab, with its smell of stale coffee and dust, felt like a stage set. Nothing was real anymore. He placed the package on the passenger seat. In the flat, gray light of the overcast afternoon, he examined it. The padded pack was a relic. The plastic wasn't just dirty. It was desiccated, fossilized. It had the texture of a dead leaf. He touched the label again, more carefully this time. M. Henshaw. His name. Not Mark. Just the initial. The way the system printed it. 847 Beach Street. His house. The one he'd lived in for 8 years. The one with the loose gutter. And the return address. He wiped more grime away, his thumb coming away black. There it was. Same address, 847 Beach Street. He was the sender. He was mailing an empty package to himself 5 years from now. Now, a reasonable person would have called someone. The police. A scientist. A priest. But who do you call to report a breach in time? Who do you show an artifact from a day that hasn't happened? He picked up the package. It was so light. He turned it over. There was a long, clean slit along one seam. Not torn. Not chewed by animals. It was a precise cut, the kind you make with a sharp knife. Someone had opened it. Or something had been taken out. He held it up to the windshield, peering through the clouded plastic. Empty. Just the faint diamond pattern of the bubble wrap inside faded to yellow. He sat there for a long time, watching the light fade from the sky. The package sat on the seat beside him. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't ticking. That was worse. It was just a fact, a piece of evidence that proved the world's rules were optional. And it was addressed to him. He finished his route on autopilot. The phantom stop was still on his power pad. He scanned the new pristine package for 1400 Industrial Parkway, Unit G, as an exception. He drove back to the station. He put the new box in the returns bin. The ancient empty one he kept, sliding it under his driver's seat. He gave his 2 weeks' notice the next morning. He told Linda it was for personal reasons. She didn't argue. She just looked relieved. He thinks she knew on some level that the glitch was in his truck, not just the system. That by leaving, he might take it with him. For the next 2 weeks, the phantom stopped. Just like that. The power pad behaved, the rhythm returned, but it was a hollow pantomime. Every beep made him jump. Every normal delivery felt like a reprieve. He was waiting for the other shoe to drop. It never did. Not at FedEx. His last day was quiet. He turned in his uniform, his keys, his power pad. He felt a profound, shaky hope as he walked out to his personal car. The artifact was in his glove compartment, wrapped in a plastic grocery bag. He'd kept it. A totem. A warning. Proof he wasn't crazy. He started his new job the following Monday, driving a school bus for the Black River local school district. It was simple. It was orderly. There was a printed route sheet, not a GPS. He learned the kids' names. He waved to parents. The fall turned to early winter, the Ohio sky turning a hard, clean blue. For 3 months it worked. The vacant lot, the phantom stops, the package. They began to feel like a bad dream. Something that had happened to a different man in a different life. He'd almost convinced himself it was over, that by quitting he'd broken the circuit. He kept the package though. He never showed it to anyone. He moved it from his glove box to a toolbox in his garage. He'd see it sometimes when he was looking for a wrench. That flash of dead purple in the shadows. He'd close the box. I wish I could tell you that was the end of it. That Mark Henshaw left the glitch behind at the FedEx station, that he found peace on a school bus route. I've read a lot of these files. They never end that way. The pattern doesn't care about your job. It only cares about you. And it was just waiting for him to get comfortable. 3 months. That's how long the quiet lasted. 3 months of diesel fumes and children's laughter. Mark almost believed he'd outrun it, that the glitch had been in his old FedEx device, and when he'd turned it in, he'd handed the curse back. But the package was still in his toolbox. He'd never thrown it away. Some part of him knew. It was a Tuesday morning, cold with a hard frost silvering the grass. He performed his pre-trip check on bus 14, fluids, lights, tires. He climbed into the driver's seat, the vinyl cold through his pants. He turned the key. The big engine coughed to life, and the GPS screen woke up. It was a sonar system, a simple, rugged unit mounted to the dash. It usually showed a map of the school district, his assigned route highlighted in a soft blue line. This morning, it didn't. The screen was dark except for a single brilliant white line. It looked like a crack in glass. It started at the blinking dot that was bus 14, parked in the school lot, and it traveled with terrible directness across the map. It cut across streets, through property lines, ignoring every road. It was a straight shot, a laser pointer of intent. It ended in the Lodi Industrial Park, on a blank, unlabeled patch of land between two warehouses. Mark knew that patch of land. He knew the weeds, the rusted fence, the dead tree. He knew the silence that lived there. His hands were already cold, but now the chill moved up his arms, into his chest. He tapped the screen. Nothing. He pressed the menu button. The system didn't respond. He held the power button, trying to force a reboot. The screen flickered and came right back to the same image. The white line. The vacant lot. A voice crackled over the bus radio. The transportation supervisor. Mark, you en route? You're showing stationary. He fumbled for the mic. Yeah, sorry. GPS is acting up. It's not showing my route. Acting up how? It's just a straight line. To the industrial park. A pause. He heard typing. That's weird. Our system here shows your normal route loaded and active. Try a hard reset. Pull the fuse for the telematics unit. It's in the panel by your left knee. Mark found the fuse box. He pulled the small, labeled fuse. The GPS screen went black. He waited a full minute, his breath fogging in the cold air. He pushed the fuse back in. The screen lit up. The map redrew itself. And there it was again. The white line, unchanged. Waiting. The supervisor came back on. Anything? No, Mark said, his voice thin. It's still locked. Locked? It can't be locked. Just drive the route, Mark. Ignore it. I'll put in a ticket with Zonar. Ignore it. Just drive the route. Mark put the bus in gear. He pulled out of the lot, following the familiar turns from memory. He didn't look at the GPS. But it was there, in his peripheral vision. That unwavering white line, pointing like an accusing finger. Every time he took a turn that deviated from its path, the line remained static. A constant reminder of where the system wanted him to go. He picked up the first group of kids. Their chatter filled the bus. He forced smiles, muttered, "Good mornings." All the while, the line glowed on the dash. Halfway through the route, he tried to deviate. He needed to turn left on Elm to get to the next stop. The white line went straight. On a wild, desperate impulse, he turned right instead, following the GPS. The kids in the back noticed. "Mr. Henshaw, you missed our street." "Just a small detour," he said, the lye ash in his mouth. He was driving now, truly driving, not following his route sheet. He was following the line. It led him out of the neighborhoods, onto the county road, past the old feed store, back onto the crumbling access road behind the industrial park. The children's chatter died away. They were looking out the windows at the gray warehouses, the chain-link fences, the weeds. "Where are we going?" a small voice asked. Mark didn't answer. He couldn't. The bus rolled to a stop, its air brakes sighing. The white line on the screen ended. The blinking dot of bus 14 was directly over top the blank patch on the map. He was here. The vacant lot. The fence was right outside his window. The realization didn't come in a flash. It drained into him, slow and cold, like water filling a hole. It wasn't the old FedEx device. It wasn't the Zonar unit in the bus. It was him. The glitch was in his life. The pattern recognized him. And it was rerouting everything back to this point. Back to this empty lot. It had followed him home from work. It had waited patiently for 3 months. And now it had hijacked a school bus full of children to get him to return. The radio crackled. "Mark, your telematics is going haywire. You're way off route. What's your location, Mark?" He looked at the microphone hanging from its cord. He looked at the confused, quiet faces of the children in the wide rearview mirror. He looked at the GPS screen with its single, unnegotiable command. And then, because he had no other route to follow, he opened the bus door. The cold morning air flooded in, carrying the smell of damp earth and dead grass. "Stay on the bus," he said, his voice not his own. He didn't wait to see if they listened. He stepped down onto the gravel. He walked toward the fence. He already knew what he would find. The same gap, the same silence, thicker now, swallowing the distant sounds of industry. This is where the file gets thin. The official report says Mark Henshaw suffered a sudden, acute dissociative episode, that he parked the bus erratically and was found by the supervisor who tracked the vehicle's last known GPS coordinates. The children were unharmed, just confused. Mark was taken for a psychiatric evaluation. They never found the package from the future. He says he'd hidden it too well. Or maybe it was gone. He doesn't know. He doesn't drive anymore. He can't. Even a passenger seat in a friend's car makes him anxious. He says it's the GPS. The way any screen, any phone, any map might suddenly stop showing the world as it is and start showing the world as it wants him to see it. But that's not the part that keeps me up. The part that keeps me up is the children's statements. They were interviewed separately. Most of them just said the bus driver took a wrong turn and got quiet. But one little girl, a second grader, told the counselor something else. She said that when Mr. Henshaw got off the bus, she looked out the window at the empty lot. She said it wasn't empty. She said there was a man standing in the tall grass. Just standing there. And he was holding something. A box, she thought. And he was looking right at the bus. Right at her. They asked her to describe him. She couldn't. It was too far away, she said. And the grass was too high. But when they asked what color the box was, she didn't hesitate. "Purple," she said. "It was a purple box." And you're sitting there, maybe in the dark, thinking it was a trick of the light. A child's imagination. A coincidence. I hope you're right. But I've read the file. I've seen the drawing the counselor had her make. The stick figure in the brown grass. And in its hand, a clumsy, scribbled square, colored in with a worn-down lilac crayon. Mark Henshaw never saw the man. He was only looking at the fence. At the destination. He never considered that on the day he finally delivered himself to the address, someone or something might be there to sign for him. The tape has reached its end. I hope the stories tonight brought a pleasant chill to your spine as you drifted further into the dark. Thank you for braving the shadows here at the Sleep Paralysis tapes. If you are still awake, lying still in the quiet, remember to contact me with your own unsettling encounters so they can be added to our growing archive. As my voice fades away, let the silence of your room wrap around you completely. May your sleep be undisturbed, your doors remain locked, and your morning arrive safely. Until we open the tapes again, good night.